Hello everyone at home. We're just about to start, so if anyone has a question, just put up a hand or something so that I can feed you in. You look much more awake today, Anne. Can you hear me at home? Can you hear me, Gabby? No, I don't think they
can. We can't hear you from the foundation.
Okay, can you hear me now? Testing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, we're ready to start. If anyone at home has any questions, just put your hand up so I can feed you in, because we've got quite a lot of people here. Right, does anyone have anything they would like to start with? Tang, do you have any question you would like to ask? Not at the moment, no. I was mentioning to Tam that we had a chat in the car yesterday about Adhitthana Parami. So often we talk about Adhitthana Parami, which is the confidence in the truth that develops with understanding. Usually Adhitthana is translated by others as resolution or determination. But I think this is a little confusing. So Ajahn emphasizes is actually the confidence that develops with understanding. And there is a verb, adhitthati. So I had looked in the texts about how it's used, because often people refer to the example of resolve to become a Buddha, and then adhitthati is used. So when we had our chat, Ajahn said, we think of resolve to become a Buddha, determined to become a Buddha, but again, it's the confidence with understanding to become a Buddha. No one resolves anything, no one determines anything. So it is the confidence which has developed to become a Buddha. And a couple of other examples, it was used in one example, establishment of mindfulness. Adhitthati, established in mindfulness, but again, confidence in mindfulness, or confidence of what mindfulness is when understanding develops. Or another one, established upon the truth, adhitthati, but again, confidence in the truth. So we can see these different translations are used. And I had always been quite confused, because the determination or resolution are also commonly used as translations of adhimokkha, cetasika, even in Nina's books, Cetasikas, determination, resolution are used. So I thought there was some connection, but actually not. And we have to consider that adhimokkha arises with almost every citta in life, kusala, akusala, vipaka, kiriya. Even the citta that arises before seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, the dvi pancho vijnana citta, arises with adhimokkha. And the cittas after seeing and hearing arise with adhimokkha. The kusala and akusala cittas arise with adhimokkha, except when there is doubt. So determination, resolution is a misleading translation for adhimokkha. And Ajahn suggested the real meaning is set the mind on the object. So the first citta in the sense door process, the adhimokkha is the Chaitasika, which is essential to arise with the universal Chaitasikas, setting the mind on the object. And after seeing and hearing, they need adhimokkha to set the mind on the object. So each word has to be considered carefully. So I thought it's quite helpful to discuss this topic. Do you have any comments, Tam, or anything you would like to ask further about it for Ajahn to elaborate more?
I think it's really helpful, and thank you for bringing it up and give some more details. I remember having read the exchanges between you and Vincent on this topic, and I think that many people, and although I didn't have any fixed idea about it, but many people think that adhitthana and adhimokkha is the same, and is it about making resolution or determine something. And when I learned about that being the confidence, I thought that it was really it really makes sense to me, and it shows that it's not the word, but it's the reality, what is there at that moment. Like even when people talking about the Buddha making the resolution with the verb adhitthani, adhitthati, like you say, it's not about the making resolution, but the mind that was there at that moment, the great confidence with understanding. And I think learning about this is really helpful, and again, tell us that it's not about the words, but about the reality that it's there. Yeah.
Understanding a little more when different dharmas arise helps one to appreciate more that they are anatta, because who can make a resolution or resolve anything? And with the adhimokkha, just appreciating it arises with almost every citta. How can it determine or resolve anything? So just considering a little more about dharmas helps to understand how whatever arises is anatta. No one can determine or resolve anything. And the confidence has to develop with understanding.
Right, and maybe I just heard now that you said that Ajahn said a better translation for adhimokkha would be set the mind on the object. So it would be helpful if Ajahn can give more comments.
When we consider again and again, closer to the nature of a reality, it's beyond any word. For example, adhimokkha is a reality, arises with citta and cetasika, and it has its own function, support the other reality to set the mind on the object. And so we know how many cittas arise without adhimokkha. Otherwise, how can we understand? Because even it's translated as resolve or whatever, what is its real function? Just at that moment. So many cetasikas, not only one, like one-pointedness, see? But it's not enough. It also has a reality, performs the function, support the other to set the mind on that, which is one-pointed, something like that, but it is beyond anyone's realization, because at the moment when it's there, no word, only understanding about the nature of what is there. And if we try to use any word, it doesn't cover all meanings, the full meaning of only that word. That's why at the moment of realizing the nature of any reality, there is no word. Only its characteristic is known one by one as it is. and different levels too. When it arises with citta, which is a hetuka, and which is the lopa dosa, and moha, which one, and so on, and the moment of akusala and akusala, different degrees. See, who knows? That's why if we just try to understand that which cannot be understood or realized, what about understand this moment? No time to understand this moment. If we spend time on such the reality which does not appear. And that is the way to understand the path. Just understand that which is there, conditioned to appear. For example, there is Atimokkha right now. Can it be realized?
So it doesn't appear, and it doesn't arise with the chitta, with vichikicha.
How many citta? Atimokkha?
I think it arises with every chitta, but not the 10, the
Right.
5 pairs, the Dvipancha Vijnana chittas, and not with doubt with with moha. So the 10 and this
Chitta.
moha with vichikicha, 11.
But normally we have no idea.
Yes,
It's there.
but even with enlightenment or vipassana jnana or any other time, wrong view needs this cetasika to set its mind on the object. And it doesn't appear, so there's no need to try to experience it or work it out. But I think, like you say, there's so much misunderstanding about it, so much idea of making a resolve or being determined, even in books that have been published here with these translations. So it's good to consider so that one can appreciate what's right and what isn't right, or what can be clarified better.
So when Vichikicha is right there, what about Atimokkha?
No setting the mind on the object, no, we would have said before, no determination on the object, no fixing on the object because it's wavering, there's doubt at that moment.
May I ask about Atimokkha as well? If we, like, as you said that when there's doubt, Vichikisha, they wouldn't be Atimokkha. But if, like, conventionally, if, like, we have doubt, like, in any subject and all that, like, in, or what people say, is that doubt at that time, do Atimokkha arise or not?
What about this moment when there is doubt about the doubt? No
Yeah.
adimokkha at this very moment, because as soon as we start thinking in conventional situations, doubt about the answer in a quiz or something, then we're moving further and further away from understanding Dhamma now. So the point of appreciating when it arises and when it doesn't is to understand its nature as a Dhamma. When we think about a conventional situation, when we have doubt about what the weather will be like, when we go out, countless processes of sense door, mind door cheetahs, so many mind door cheetahs, and who can pinpoint which moments there is vichikicha. But what we can say is almost every moment adimokkha is there, setting onto the object, setting the mind on the object.
So even when there's doubt which isn't Vichikisha, even that time also have Atimokkha.
if it's not the moha mula citta with vicikicca or the dvipancha vijnana cittas at each other moment of thinking, adhimokkha is there, setting
Thank
its mind on the object.
Thank you. Thank you.
More subtle. What about the moha without vicikicca? See, there is adhimokkha.
And it's helpful to consider, to appreciate that adhimokkha is not what we're used to thinking it is, because at that moment there's no what we conventionally think of as determination or resolution, but adhimokkha, setting the mind on the object. It's there. Have any questions on this topic, Hung or Mai or anyone else? Alberto?
Just an observation that adhimokkha is a specific cetasika. And as you just mentioned, it's not what we normally think of as determination, but that also applies to most of the other names for cetasikas. We have to appreciate that the conventional language doesn't have a suitable option for things that perform their function in a millisecond as part of a citta, a mental factor to a citta. Determination in the other context, and I've just forgotten the Pali, but in the parami is not a specific cetasika. Adhitthana, yeah. Adhitthana, the parami, is not a specific cetasika. So it's not necessarily inappropriate that determination be the translation for that, because it's not that the two are mutually exclusive and have to have different names. One is applying to a cetasika and the other is applying to a parami, and the paramis, some of them are related to specific cetasikas, but others not necessarily.
What degrees of panya? Only one? Or many degrees?
Many.
That's why viriya can be so for some time or more, to be khanti, no matter in what situation,
Yes.
and so firm from life to life, never change.
Right.
So at moment of moha with avicikicca, nothing can hinder adhimokkha to arise, to set whatever are there together to on the object only. Even it is utthaja, not just one moment of one object clearly, but it goes on with adhimokkha. But when vicikicca is there, it hinders instantly. As much as we can consider. That's why it depends on our accumulation to consider this aspect or that aspect as much as one has accumulation, that's all. But can anyone expect to realize adhimokkha as Ācariya Sujin, arising and falling away? Atta. That's why all paramis have to be the support for kusala of each level. When one is so attached to something, it's a time to understand that. But when right understanding with all paramis is there, no doubt. So what level are there now? Not for the others, but for oneself. Otherwise, if we don't think about parami at all, how long will it be to just gradually letting go, little by little, akusla? Because only kusla cannot eradicate akusla at all. That's why all the way is letting go, attachment, and the idea of I, of trying so hard to understand this and that more than one's accumulation. So what about understanding firmly, have confidence of the anatthaness, no matter what? Panya can understand. Even it is atimokkha or whatever, unknown. Who knows what would be the object at moment of realization? The truth, Ācariya Sujin. And that is the very subtle letting go, attachment to even just the idea. Try to know, consider more than one can do, or accumulation. So many words in Tipitaka, it cannot be fully clear enough to condition moment of satipatthana, because doubt is there, attachment is there, unknown. What is that moment? Not name it, but understand that which is there now. Even the nature which arises and experiences the object right now is not known yet. That's why we listen again and again and again. No expectation or will to have it arise at such and such moment by conditions. Just learn to understand the truth and leave it to Panya only, which can develop on and on, very gradually, stage by stage. What about the 7 Cetasikas? Jivitindriya? Not only Atimokkha.
That don't appear, that aren't known at all, like Jivitindriya. Mm.
But without them, nothing. They are not known, but without them, nothing can be experienced, apprehended. It's just the thought goes to, in the process of citta, the third citta in is already clinging. So this explanation about is mind-boggling. Clinging.
And even though aditana is not a specific cetasika, we know that when it's referred to, it's a parami, it's rising with understanding, various sobhana cetasikas together that are referred to as aditana or confidence. So nothing to do with adimokkha, which arises at each of these moments. So determination, I think, is quite misleading.
In which context? Adimokkha, you're saying already?
Actually, in both contexts.
In both? I see.
Usually determination is quite a popular idea, because there's the idea of being determined, being resolved, having determination. But the aditana parami is the confidence that develops with understanding, firmer and firmer appreciation, or less and less doubt that develops with understanding.
So it has to be with right understanding to be adhidhana.
To the Abhidhamma, or to Dhamma now, to be Abhidhamma.
I think in all these contexts where I saw aditati used and aditana, it's always in the wholesome sense. Resolved to become a Buddha, established upon the truth, aditana parami. So I think it's always referring to the kusala confidence with understanding. Whereas adhimokkha, as we've discussed, arises with any jati.
So when in the conventional language people say that, okay, that person is very determined to reach his goal, for example, that could be anything at that time.
Nicole.
Usually lobha, any kind of lobha for any object. And
Well, determined has a number of meanings actually. So being determined about something is one, but another is to ascertain, to determine, to ascertain the value of or importance of something. So, but determination, it does, as Sarah said, imply, in the conventional sense, the individual having that goal, but then things like effort also have that same implication.
strong lobha, strong virya, very
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah, you never be able to get away from a term that doesn't have implications.
So when there's no idea about anything at all, what do you think about? She's so very determined. What does it mean?
Well, it can be said in a good sense or a bad. Can be determined in a obstinate sort of way or in a positive way.
But when we talk about parami, it's just to
Yes.
realize the truth.
Yeah. Determination sounds like something that could be a useful quality in reaching the perfections, to me anyway. I'm probably too easygoing for that,
Usually
in a good way, of course.
Usually full of self.
But at the moment of understanding is there, right?
Just whatever is
Yeah.
acceptance and determination can be seen as opposites, yet both can apply equally.
Jonathan, can you explain that last comment a bit more, please?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that, Anne. Would you repeat?
Oh, you just said, and I can't remember exactly, determination and something.
Acceptance.
Acceptance, yes.
Yes.
Opposite, but both can be applied
Well,
equally, or something
can
like
be
that.
seen as opposites. I mean, a person who is accepting of whatever it is as it is some, in the conventional sense, can be seen as not being determined in having goals and ambitions, that sort of thing. So conventional determination can have a negative connotation by someone who's determined, regardless of the situation, to go ahead with their own agenda,
Mm-hmm.
for example.
like a very young child, for example.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
In a conventional sense, when we talk about a child or someone being very determined, whether we think of it in a positive or negative way, usually it's referring to lobha and strong virya and akusala concentration and like determined to make a beautiful cake or determined to be top of the class. We think these are all good qualities, but usually it's just strong lobha and virya.
And it be stubborn.
Stubborn. Yeah.
And can you give an
No
example?
consideration for others.
Can you give an example of wholesome conventional determination?
Well, the paramis are an example of conventional you're talking about. Wholesome, conventional.
Yeah.
It's almost, they don't go together, wholesome and conventional, but...
Yeah, I thought my point. Can you think about it?
Well, yes. Appreciating the value of, for example, taking part in a discussion. So it needs a degree of determination to fly from Italy to join the discussion.
Yeah, determination in so it has to be kusala. If there can be determination to come to Thailand, to get something, to with expectation and or for the wrong reason, and that's very natural, and that's. But is that aditana which we are talking about when talking about the bodhisattva determination?
This is not aditana at all. Complete opposite.
Example in conventional terms. I tried to give it.
Aditana is the confidence in the truth with understanding right now, nothing to do with conventional ideas of determination, nothing to do with determination at all. For example, determination to read the Dhamma book, but that is not aditana parami.
Yeah, right.
Sarah, when we heard someone say that he has a determined to be a Samma Sambuddho, so normally we think that is very good things, but you're not sure, right?
And this is the
Yes.
point of the discussion earlier, because the Pali aditati, and they translate it as determined or resolved to become a Buddha. But actually it is the confidence in understanding, the confidence in the knowledge of the truth that leads to becoming a Buddha, not being determined to open the book, determined to become enlightened. So this is why we were saying that we think that determined or resolved is not the best translation. It's the confidence that has developed to such a high degree, with such a high degree of understanding, that leads to that result. So it's quite interesting, quite different from our normal way of considering. So usually when people talk about reading about being resolved to become a Buddha, being resolved to devote one's life to Dhamma, usually it's not even kusala, usually, yes, a lot of ignorance and usually a lot of attachment to.
when we know that adhimokkha will arise with the moha without vichikicha, right? So it's amazing that it's not like our thinking. Yes.
I think there are
Adhimokkha.
two different topics, so I think we can distinguish. So if we're talking about adhitthana and adhitthati, the confidence to become a Buddha, the confidence in wisdom or understanding, we're talking about the development of the parami adhitthana with understanding. If we're talking about adhimokkha, we're talking about the cetasika that arises with almost every citta, setting the mind on the object. The cetasika that arises now at each moment, kusala vipaka kiriya cittas. So this is why I brought it up, because usually it's all confused and bundled together. A big tangle.
Sarah, may I just ask a question in relation to this? Because the discussion has reminded me of the, it's something that occurs in Mahayana Buddhism, where people make a vow to follow the bodhisattva path. And as you say, it's often done in ignorance of what is going to be involved, and with a strong sense of, I am doing this, etc. But someone explained to me that the purpose of the vow was to actually use that commitment as a way of actually studying the Dhamma. And that over time, the understanding that grew actually made it apparent that what the perceived goals at the beginning were impossible to achieve. So it was like the taking of the vow was like a commitment to a learning process. And this just came to mind while we've been discussing this. Have you got any thoughts around that? The taking of a vow, making a commitment?
It's actually a good example because, as you say, that's quite common, taking a vow, resolving to become a bodhisattva or resolving to become a sotapanna or something like this. Actually, and it would be a common translation, but I think that it is the wrong understanding of I, an idea of I and some control and wishing and determining. And the argument is a little bit like when people say, well, yes, maybe it's not the meditation practice, but without that I wouldn't be listening to the truth now, or without dreaming of Nibbana, I wouldn't be interested to hear about Dhammas now. So, or using self to get rid of self, as Jonathan said. So what leads to the development of understanding is actually not because of that mistaken idea, but in spite of it. But perhaps Ajahn has more to add.
What's a vow?
In the vow that I'm referring to, Ajahn, is an example of it is to make a commitment to dedicate one's
To
life.
whom? Commitment to whom?
a commitment to the Dharma, actually.
The Dharma. Again, usually we think of a person, right?
That's where it starts. Yes, it starts with the idea of someone, but that well, as I understand it, that changes as understanding
See,
grows.
just the word, I think.
Pardon?
I think that it's only the word for intention.
Yes, probably. Oh, but it seems to be stronger than intention.
To whom? To oneself or to someone?
No, to an idea.
Whose idea? That's why we have to find out the reality at each moment. What is it? Even we use the word vow, it's like confidence, determination, or what? To yourself or to someone or to whom? And
I think
why?
it is like determination in the sense that we've been discussing, but that is kind of embedded in a concept of not just studying for the benefit of oneself, but studying for the benefit of others. So you know, in the end, it has a selfless goal, and I don't pretend to understand this, you know, at the level that people who are involved in Mahayana Buddhism understand this and why they choose to do this. But I was just actually looking for some sort of parallel between what we're discussing and the motivation to, I suppose, be serious about understanding, developing understanding.
That's why no matter at any moment, we learn to understand the truth, the nature of that moment. What is it? Chitta or Chittasika or Rupa or just thinking or only idea of wish or what? Depending on that very moment. That's all.
Yes, it always has to come back. It always has to come back to that.
Did Buddha vow to be Sammasambuddha when he was Bodhisattva? So I think that at moment of saying anything, thinking about anything, there can be the understanding of what is that, what Dhamma, which is not anyone at all, is conditioned and then fall away instantly, even right now. So what is vow? Chitta or Chittasika? Thinking at moment. No one. Only a moment of thinking.
I think what I actually do find interesting about it is that the vow is not about
Or strong will.
personal
Strong will.
liberation. Sorry, Ajahn, I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Is it strong will?
I think probably it starts off like that because there is not very much understanding at the beginning. But the intention is that it will lead to greater understanding. That the commitment, there must be an essential commitment.
Is
to
it just only thinking?
Yes, it is thinking.
And then gone, no one at all.
That isn't understood at the beginning, though.
The self,
Hopefully,
the idea of self is so very deeply rooted.
Yes.
I think one thing's apparent, Maeve, and that is that when such a vow is made, it can't be made on the basis of any real understanding. It's very It's very aspirational.
Mm.
So it's questionable whether it can be, therefore, whether it can have any value. In just working on general principles, if one is making a determination, but it's not based on a proper appreciation of what is the goal of the determination, then what is the value of that?
Well, is not our coming together and discussing the nature of reality with the view to developing understanding, is there not an aspirational aspect to that?
Well, there could be, but that's, of course, it can be mixed thoughts, but in terms of the Dhamma, the aspirational value is not going to contribute anything to the outcome. So I'm not saying all our motives are pure, but the only part of the equation that matters is the interest, for a start, in the Dhamma, and the appreciation of the value of hearing the Dhamma and sharing views. And which doesn't require making of a vow. And anything on top of that, like the vow aspect, is likely to be a distraction, if I could put it that way.
I wasn't suggesting that we take a vow, or that vows are taken in.
No, but just referring back to the vow to the original situation of the vow to to follow the bodhisattva path, I think, as you put it. Yeah.
Mm.
What's the difference between that and a person who has an interest in the Dhamma and is inspired to continue to seek to understand the teachings better?
I'm not sure that there is a difference, but then I don't know enough about the bodhisattva process of development of the understanding under that particular banner.
They might have a good curriculum.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, break it down into different.
They've been doing it for a long time, so.
The theory and the practice.
Yes. And they do produce Dalai Lamas.
They have a good crop of graduates each year, do they?
So isn't it the idea of self?
Yes.
Should we break it down, the vow, or should we keep it?
It seems, though, Ajahn, that it always starts with the idea of self,
Right.
and hopefully it ends with the idea of no self.
Yeah.
But it starts
Keep
with
it. It's the idea of self. Break it down.
That comes towards the end of the curriculum, I suppose.
And probably only
That's the
intellectually.
point. When there's the idea of being resolved to become a Buddha, or taking a vow to become to be a Bodhisattva, or even now resolved to sit here until understanding develops. It's all about I. It's not about understanding of dharmas at all. The hidden lobha, the clinging, wanting a result for me is there.
Literature pertaining perhaps to the lives of Buddha Gautama before his lives prior to the last and final life where he became enlightened, that there was a vow. Where does this come from? I thought so, but I don't remember, please.
But
Is
I think
that the aspiration that has to be made before a living Buddha, like a long, long time ago? I can't tell you exactly where that comes from, but I know it's mentioned in the
before
Perfections.
Dipankara Buddha.
It's in the Sutta Nipata or the Nidesa.
Okay.
But again, I think it depends on the understanding, because now we know adhitata is translated as resolved, or even make a vow, or determined not to become enlightened until becoming a Buddha, and so on. So, of course, in truth, no one can stop becoming enlightened, no one can do anything. We're talking about dharmas that are conditioned, that arise and fall away. So now we know that it's actually referring to the very firm confidence in that path and in the nature of the way conditioned dharmas are. But perhaps Ajahn can add more.
Is it just a vow to understand what vow is?
Just to add a bit in response to Eve's question, one of the prerequisites for the vow to be successful is that the person be capable of attaining arahatship in that lifetime where the vow is made. So it's a vow that is made with understanding of the,
Precisely what I was getting at, what I was driving at is there has to be a very high level of accumulations. Otherwise, it's useless. It's another word. It's striving and full of self.
Very high understanding, very high confidence. I think Alberto has another topic he'd like to bring up, so perhaps we can move on.
It's about the. Actually, I think it's a bit related to this topic because it's about the four foods. Because when we think about food, we think about what we eat, the lunch, what we had for lunch. There are also other foods which we eat, and one of these is intention. And there is a sutta which is very famous. It's the sutta about the eating the son's flesh, which is explaining about the first kind of food, the Kabalinka Ahara. And when giving a simile for the intention, it's another scary one, I'm afraid. It's about the. It talks about the pit filled with fire and being pushed into the pit filled with fire, and that's the intention. Maybe someone has heard this sutta before. No, I thought it was a famous one. The one that has to cross the desert and has to eat the flesh of their sons. Yeah. And in the same sutta, it also talks, and this is the Kabalinka Ahara. No, it's the sutta itself.
Yeah, there is that sutta. It's called the Putamangsa Sutta.
Yeah.
The sun's flesh.
It's the Nidana Samyutta Nikaya Nidana Samyutta. And the intention is compared to the being pushed in the pit filled with fire. So that's also something we eat every day. It's like food. It's like food. We fill up. I don't know how to say. We are very fat. We're getting very fat with this kind of food, but it's not. It doesn't appear. It doesn't show up like the food we eat. Because if we eat much food, we get fatter and fatter. But the other three kinds of food is not so apparent. The consequences are not so apparent. That's my reading of the sutta. I was hoping Ajahn would
recognize the sutta and come and rescue you.
Exactly.
Alberto would like you to rescue him. He's talking about the four kinds of ahara pachiya.
Yeah.
The first, as we know, is he's talking about the four kinds of ahara pachiya, and the first is the edible food, the nutriment which we're all familiar with. And then, of course, the others are pasa, citta, or vijnana, and cetana. And now he's talking about cetana. And what is your question exactly?
About the simile, it's very very scary, I think. Very.
In this sutta, for the edible nutriment, it refers to eating the child's flesh, son's flesh. And for the Chaitana, it gives the simile of
being pushed
into a pit of fire,
Pit of fire.
when crossing the desert. So I don't know quite what he would just like your comments on it.
I think about, because you were talking about aditana and
What is ahara?
nutriments. Nutriments.
That is one, but ahara, one kind of ahara. But what is ahara? What does it mean? Not the nutrition, food, and so on. What is ahara? Only ahara. What is ahara?
Because must be the pachaya, the condition for something.
Without ahara, can there be any result of ahara?
No.
The food condition what? Brings about what?
Maintaining life.
Can it condition cetana, manosan cetanahara, the food?
It can condition.
The body
No,
only. Only the growth of the body.
I mean, but it can be conditioned, cetana.
Only for body.
Yeah, the food, only for body.
Kapalikarahara, the first ahara, it has nothing to do with the second one.
No.
It's just for the body. And what is the second ahara?
Passa.
Yes. Without passa, can there be any moment of experiencing an object right now?
No.
So, it conditioned, or there is pachupanda, pachupana is what?
Vedana.
And also chitta and all chaitasikas. Without passa, nothing can be experienced at all at each moment.
And the third one?
Mano sancetana.
Manosanchetanahara, what is it?
Intention.
Cetana cetasika.
Cetana cetasika.
Condition what? Brings what as its result?
Vipaka.
The fourth ahara.
The fourth, chitta.
Vijnana.
Vijnana.
Vijnanahara. That's why it is ahara pachaya. Pachaya ahara for what is the result? Because it's pachaya.
Ajahn, why there's no moha ahara?
Without vijnanahara, can there be any?
Oh, so Vinaya is all.
Yeah, I wanted to, Ajahn, to speak about the four nutriments. I added some comment, my own comments, which I thought there was.
Because you were mentioning about the intention, and then the pit filled with fire, and you said that you were thinking about the connection with the vow, right?
Yeah, because also Ajahn says, isn't it right to break it, the vow? If it's Ajahn, just a moment ago, she was saying, isn't it right to break the vow when it's wrong?
And how is that connected to the charcoal pit?
Because it's the intention.
Pit. And he will. The sutta says that this gives a simile of a man who's being dragged towards a pit full of burning charcoal by two strong men,
That's right.
and will be thrown into the pit,
Mhm.
and he will try to resist that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a simile, right?
Yes.
It's not to be taken literally. We have to
Right. Yeah.
get
so
the meaning of it, right?
the commentary explains it this way. The charcoal pit represents the round of existence with its three
Mhm.
planes. The man wanting to live represents the foolish worldling attached
Mhm.
to the round, you and me. The two strong men represent wholesome and unwholesome karma. When they grab the man by both arms and drag him towards the pit, this is like the worldling's accumulation of karma, for the accumulated karma drags along a rebirth. And finally, the pain from falling into the charcoal pit is like the suffering of the round.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
So it's quite a graphic simile, but nonetheless it's one that one can appreciate quite easily.
Chaitana, the Mano-Sanchetana, is the karma that brings its results, the vijnana, the kusala or akusala, vipaka. So actually it's talking about dependent origination, about the rounds of birth without...
Includes wholesome karma too.
Wholesome and unwholesome karma that bring the results.
Other than what is development of the path leads to rebirth.
So it's like the three vata, the kusala or akusala conditioning karma that bring result, vipaka, round and round and round.
I thought it was scary, but very true. As the simile was very appropriate, I think.
What do we learn?
Birth again and again, falling into the pit again and again.
What do we learn from it?
Not to make vows.
Not to make vows.
Determined to be a bodhisattva. Understand one moment at a time instead of dreaming about nibbana, nirodha, bodhisattvas, buddhas, and so on, fantasy land, instead of just understanding now, understanding kusala, akusala now, seeing, hearing the results now, different dharmas arising and falling away at this moment. So there's less and less lobha and clinging and determination and strong effort for results in future, for all those different fantasies, or for me. Only the understanding now gradually lets go of the clinging to the dreams and fantasies. Okay, Hang's turn.
Achan, back to the Adhimokkha Cetasika, you just mentioned that it's the set a mind on the object, but it's too difficult to understand at the moment of moha mula citta. So without vicikicca, it still have a Adhimokkha.
Because the Adhimokkha arises.
The other akusala cetasikas, the akusala cetana, the akusala wishing, if it's there, on the object at that moment. That's why it's so very different from the words like resolve and determine and all those things, yes.
No doubt about the 7 Cetasikas, universal Cetasikas.
Yes. Yeah.
And what about more than that? What about the 6?
6.
Okay.
Pakinaka.
It's there because no doubt.
Like the first citta in the sense door process, without the adhimokkha, it cannot advert to the sense object. There cannot be the beginning of the sense door process without the setting of that citta and those universal cetasikas on the object. It's needed a little bit stronger than the moment of seeing and hearing. Already the object is there to be experienced, but the first citta needs the adhimokkha to set on the object. I think if one begins to appreciate how even that citta needs it, then one can understand how even a moment of thinking with moha and uddacca needs the adhimokkha to set them on the object.
It's our thinking. Yes.
That's why it needs such careful considering. However many times one reads the descriptions in the Visuddhimagga, the Attasalani, about adhimokkha, without the careful considering, it won't be understood, and without some knowledge of Abhidhamma, of when different cetasikas arise, and one considers more about them as dhammas, as anatta, it can't be understood.
Yes.
What about being sure of the object?
At the moment of moha, not with vicikiccha, is it sure about the object, or it just experiences the object with ignorance? But there has to be the touching of the object, the passa contacting it, the adhimokkha setting on it. There's no wrong view at that moment.
Yes.
That's why in the Dhamma, the ignorance is a very specific thing. It's not what the conventional idea of ignorance, not knowing anything. It actually experiences a particular object, and that object is the object of the ignorance. So it's a positive, if you can think of it that way, experiencing. It's still an experiencing, but an experiencing that doesn't know anything about the object.
Doesn't know anything about the object, or doesn't know about the truth of the object? The same meaning.
That's a good question. Let's see what Ajahn has to say about that.
Can moha understand what is there?
Because
The truth of the object cannot, right? Cannot understand the truth of the object.
What is moha?
Doesn't understand about the truth of the object.
Without lopa, without dosa, it can arise
Yeah.
by conditions.
Yeah.
and so when there's loba, there is also moha. So there can be ignorance of and attachment to at the same time.
So
Moha is not understanding at all, even right now.
yeah.
No understanding of seeing. Because moha cannot understand the truth of seeing.
Yes, because I just want to clarify clearly the difference between understanding of the truth, the nature of the character of the reality,
Yeah.
and understand in the conventional sense that we know, we have knowledge of some specific subject.
Now, in truth, whatever is there arises and falls away. Can moha understand it?
No.
It's opposite of understanding.
Yeah.
That's why it conditioned loba and dosa to arise with it.
Yeah.
Like at the moment of liking the taste of coffee and knows very clearly that this taste is different from the coffee drunk in another place, but still moha is there.
And at the moment of being, when one's pushed into a pit of fire, at each moment adhimokkha is there, apart from the moments of seeing and hearing and bodily experience. But otherwise adhimokkha is there at each moment, no matter whether there's any vowels or not, but still adhimokkha at each moment. And ignorance most of the time, for sure.
And Ajahn, it's very interesting point that two of the moha mula citta is asankharika, because itself is already.
Does it need anyone to urge it to have moha, to be moha, no understanding?
No, it's already there, right?
Meaning of sasankharikang and asankharikang, depending on the level of citta as well. For the kama vajra citta, it means which is sasankharik and asankharik. But at moment of realizing nibbana, without the citta which arises in the process before the moment of makkha, it needs. So it depends on, we use the word that it needs other citta to arise before it. It can just arise instantly. Need the word to this moment of makkha is asankharik and the other moment is asankharik.
It's a very subtle detail like jhanas and sasankarika or asankarika or now.
Eve wants a microphone.
I'm digressing. Going back to the process of citta, and clinging is there with the third citta in the process. On reflecting, clinging is just a Dhamma, and self doesn't enter into it until the mind door, the concept of self and me and mine. Would that be correct to state, Tanajan? The atterness.
The asavas, the very, very subtle ignorance, the very subtle clinging, the very subtle wrong view can arise even in sense door process unknown. And the clinging or the ignorance, the first citta is the panchadwara, second is the seeing or hearing, two more vipaka cittas, so it's the fifth citta, fifth, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 7 cittas starting with the fifth, 3 after the moment of seeing and hearing that arise with that are kusala or akusala, but the clinging to what is seen as something long before there are any words, just that impression. So it shows how very, very subtle it is. So the ditthi that there is, that is a little more obvious, is so long after the sense door process when there have been so many mind door processes, but the subtle asava in the sense door process or in the first mind door processes before there are any words, then it's there, unknown.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that.
We just have a very little time. Would anyone else at home like to ask anything? Anne or Gabby or Alan? Anyone else? Okay. Anything you would like to add before we finish, Ajahn?
What is the most precious moment? Little by little now, the development of understanding, but moha, how enormous accumulation of whatever experience now unknown. Even it does not appear, there can never be the understanding of that. But even right now, who knows each moment whether there is moha or ditthi with lopa, when it does not show up. Even when it appears, it takes time to really understand one characteristic of a reality as it is, beyond word. That's why I learn little by little to understand life. And no matter how much we learn about Tipitaka, the words in Tipitaka, but what can be understood is the nature of that which arises and experiences the object, because it's taken for I all the time, or someone or something, not only I. And the rupa, even it's there, it can be object of attachment and ignorance, so much in a day. That's why just understanding little by little is the only way. Unexpectedly, unknowingly, how it develops by their ways to be moment of direct understanding of what is there right now. So what level of understanding is right now? Who knows? Only that moment when it's there arising. Direct understanding of this or whatever, so close, not far away at all. So where is seeing right now? Close or far away? The reality which experiences the object.
Very, very close, but unknown. Very close, but appearing to ignorance now.
It's Khanti and Viriya and Adidana and Satya. A little Nekama, letting go, ignorance at moment of understanding. Little by little. So very little that is seeing right now. We talk about it anytime to be reminded that which is so close is not realized yet. And we keep on thinking about other things. By Pachaya.
And scary, I think it's only scary when it's me. Because in moments of understanding, appreciating the danger of birth and death, how it's like falling into a pit lifetime after lifetime, I think it's not scary. It's when moments of appreciation or understanding, it's scary. It's when it's, oh, what will happen to me? I will fall into a pit again and again.
I'll also mention about the passa simile, which is like a cow without being skinned, and then being put near a place and all the and being eaten by the insects. That's called passa.
Where's the cow now?
Looking looking for the cow or making a vow to find the cow. Yeah. All pointing to Passa at this moment, no matter what the simile is. The Passa is now, the Chaitanya is now, the Vipaka, the seeing or hearing is now.
Before the now can be known. It takes quite a long, long time of paramis to develop. So now this moment is the development of parami.
Very little, little by little, very, very little.
All paramis.
Unnoticeable.
Yes. Dana, Dhamma dana, help the other to understand what you think about or know about. And Sila, Kusala, Sila.
Actually, there are so many of these similes throughout the suttas. These ones are just one instance of many. There's one of the, like a child licking the knife that's been smeared with honey, for example, and many others, even more graphic, about life in hell. So they're all there for a purpose, to have a salutary effect, not to scare us. Because if one is scared by them, then one is not understanding the true import of the thing. It's just a salutary reminder.
Does anyone look for the cow?
This make Ajahn laugh. Different accumulations. So that's why one can read anything with lobha or dosa or understanding. It just depends on the moment and the accumulations. Anyway, I think we can continue with the vows and the cows tomorrow. So thank you everyone who's joined us at home. Tomorrow we have a morning and afternoon session, so hope to see you all.